Welcome, everyone. Great to have you this afternoon. We've just given another moment and let some more people join us. Now, some familiar names coming in. Great to see. You're very welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us this afternoon. We're going to hold tough for another couple of seconds there, and myself and Louise are raring to go, but we will hold tough.
It's wonderful to see such large numbers at this event, Fiona, isn't it?
It's fantastic. It's, I suppose, a testament, in fairness, to the Leo network on a broader level. You know, there has been a huge emphasis on the event and pushing it out there. But to get the response then is just so fantastic. I think people were very eager to come back again after last year's success. Last year was a funny one. It was like, God, we're moving it online after having this tangible event that we attended physically for so many years because it's been such a well-established event. And the move online was so seamless. It was fantastic. And it still allowed for networking, the breakout groups, everything like that. So it's great to see people returning again after the success of last year and building on that success. So it's fantastic. It's the opportunities haven't been there to get so many people onto a session, you know, like this in quite a while. And I think people are really just embracing that, which is great to see.
It is wonderful, yeah. And isn't technology wonderful that can facilitate us all to be here from whatever corner of the country we're in?
Sure, if you told us like 18 months ago that this would be how we'd be rolling out a conference, would we be going, really? How? Like, it's fantastic. And I suppose we all probably had a real crash course in technology, and we might have been slightly familiar with a couple of elements of it, but it was a pretty steep learning curve. I'll put my hand up. It was a steep learning curve for me. And I mean, I'm sitting in front of a computer most days, you know, but like, it's just fantastic that people did embrace it so readily, you know, so we didn't have to lose everything in the midst of all the chaos and everything, you know, that we could still roll things out and still keep going with things. It's fantastic.
Brilliant. So can I just might maybe ask chat very briefly, is my sound okay? Can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? I just want to make sure everybody's really comfortable before we get going with this.
Everything sounds great from my side. Yeah, and I'm getting a load of yeses coming in there in the chat. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for that feedback. It's great to get that immediate feedback. Now, our numbers are steadily rising and hopefully will continue to do so. But before we, I suppose, commence officially, I just want to absolutely say a very big welcome to all of you this afternoon. So delighted that you could join us. So delighted that you could take time out of the days. God, lads, the diaries have been just filling up. I don't know, are you in the same boat as myself? But since we've kind of come out of this lockdown and we all promised that we wouldn't be massively busy, we are, you know. So I think it's fantastic to be able to take the opportunity now and again to step outside of the business and actually just, you know, take time to listen, take time to just really digest some information. And I can tell you, after this session, you will be digesting plenty of information. For those of you who I don't know and who don't know me, I know there are some familiar names there coming in. My name is Fiona Leahy. I work as the business advisor and training coordinator within the Kerry Local Enterprise Office. So I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the Local Enterprise Office Network to facilitate this afternoon session, all about how to harness social media to drive growth in your business. I'd like to welcome our speaker today, Louise McDonnell. You're in for a treat, folks. Louise is an absolute expert on all things social media. She's the founder of Sella on Social Media and Online Training Academy. She's a published author, and I will let Louise go into some additional detail on her own, I suppose, achievements over the past number of years. But I have no doubt that there will be plenty of food for thought, plenty of really important nuggets that you can take away from this afternoon's presentation. As we all know, I suppose, and as the last 18 months have probably told us or taught us even further, social media, it can be our greatest ally or a bit of an enemy, depending on how we use it, how we approach it. And Louise is going to inspire us on how to do things correctly this afternoon. I would like to encourage all of you to really make the most use of this session by making it as interactive as possible and sending any questions that you might have, anything that might pop into your head as Louise is speaking. We're going to have plenty of time at the end to facilitate some questions. And so if you can keep those coming in through the chat or through the Q&A, and then myself and Louise will work our way through as many of those as we can at the end of the session. I suppose the other thing I'd like to remind you as well is that this session is being recorded. So thankfully you can sit back, you can relax, you can just listen to Louise. You don't have to be scribbling furiously. You will be able to reference back to this session. It'll be available on localenterprise.ie/NWED for National Women's Enterprise Day. So without further ado, as I said, I am delighted to have her here this afternoon, and I'm going to hand over to Louise. Are you ready to go?
Ready to rock. I'm ready to rock. I'll start sharing my screen.
Excellent. You take your time there. And thank you to everyone who's already engaging and saying hello. It's fantastic to see that coming in. And when you're ready, Louise, you can.
Perfect. Yes, I'm ready to go, ready to rock. Thank you so much, Fiona, for that lovely introduction. I am so delighted to be here. Thank you so much to the organizers for inviting me to speak. I've been at every National Women's Enterprise Day event for years and years and years and years. I had the honor of speaking at some local events here in Sligo and Mayo over the years, but I am truly, truly honored to be speaking at the national event and to be reaching so many of you from my home in just outside Enniscrone in County Sligo. So fingers crossed that all the technology works. I'm on the fibre broadband. I have the phone off the hook. The dog is in the kitchen. The gate is open so the courier can't interrupt us. Fingers crossed we get through this and sit back. And as Fiona said, you've taken the time out of your business today. Sit back and enjoy the session and give yourself the opportunity to think outside the box and to think of new ideas for your business. And at the end of this session, write down a list of to-dos, what you're going to do, and put a date after it, and make another list of what you're going to stop doing. And that can be just as useful. So without further ado, if you're taking any snaps, sharing any nuggets of advice or sharing any feedback from this session, I would really love it if you would tag me on social media. I would love to connect with you, and this is how you find me. My name is Louise McDonald, you know that. Just want to give you a little bit of background about myself. My journey to entrepreneurship is a funny one, really, because I founded my business in 2009 because I was made redundant. I can remember the morning that I was made redundant. It was actually my birthday. So I got a call to go into the boardroom where I was working, and it was early enough. And I did remember, I can remember walking to the boardroom and thinking to myself, gosh, it's a bit early for cake. But anyhow, I went into the boardroom, and within a few minutes, I was leaving the building with no job. And I remember thinking at the time, my beautiful twins, as you see here, they were in creche, and the creche bill was more expensive than the mortgage. And my husband was self-employed in the construction sector, which was beginning to fall apart. And I remember that feeling of my heart sinking to my toes, thinking, what am I going to do now? Because anyone who has lived in rural Ireland will know there's not so many job opportunities at a certain level when you get to a certain level in your career, particularly in the areas of let's say, marketing. And remember, this was back in 2009. So I started my own business that very day, and I started going out there and looking for business. I was very fortunate to win a contract with Fáilte Ireland, and that really set me up to get going. I was lucky that I had worked for 10 years in Dublin in the area of digital marketing. Before digital marketing was a thing, it was like EDI, electronic data interchange, and it was the paperless office. I moved out of that sector, not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to move back home. So I moved back home and I worked in the Chamber of Commerce in Ballina for 7 years, where as CEO, and in there I learned a lot of dealing with and the issues that small businesses have and helping small businesses. And so I had my digital marketing experience, I had my business experience, and I had my marketing degree. And that's how I started with my company. I started off, as I said, with Fáilte Ireland, and then one day, and let's bring it back, I got a phone call from Frank Fullard. I don't know if anyone remembers Frank. Frank was CEO at the time in the County Enterprise Board in Mayo, which was now the Local Enterprise Office, Mayo. And Frank rang me up one day and he said, "Geez, Louise, you're doing me a favor. I need somebody to do a course on Facebook." And I said, "You know what, Frank, I think I'm too busy. I don't have time." And he said, "Oh, please do me that favor." And so I did. And I did that course on Facebook marketing for Frank. And I haven't stopped training on social media since. So in 2017, I published my first book, Facebook Marketing, The Essential Guide. And literally I published that because I have been training since 2009 how to use Facebook as a marketing tool. I knew all the mistakes that small businesses tended to make and the misconceptions they tended to have. And so I just put it all into a book under a 6-step system, which I'm going to share with you today. In 2021, I published my best-selling 2021 Social Media Planner and Guide. And the good news is there is a digital copy of this for everybody in the resource section of this event. The digital copy it's a smaller copy than what you see here, but it has all the information about the social media networks. It has a workbook, and it has prompts for social media content, which will help you between now and Christmas. My 2021 Social Media Planner and Guide is being launched just in the next few weeks. It will be available on Amazon and the Book Depository, and I'll be having an official launch on the 4th of November. It's bigger and better than last year's. It's again got information on all the social media platforms and what you can expect and the trends and what you need to do next year. It's got a more refined workbook, and it's got over 400 prompts. So for every single day of the year, you're going to have a prompt for your social media content to make your social media easier. So again, where I am now in my business, so from the day that I was made redundant on my birthday in 2009, now I have 3 full-time employees working for me. Here we have Anna, Harsha, and Grania, and I think actually they're here today in the audience in the chat. So hi, girls. I'm delighted to have you working with me. I have a social media agency with clients actually from all over the world. So when people can outsource their social media to us, if they can't afford to outsource their social media to us, we train them how to do it themselves through my Sell on Social Media Academy. And so that's a little bit about me. So what are we going to cover here today? So today we're here to talk about how we can harness the power of social media to drive business sales. So if we are using social media and it's not making any difference to our bottom line, we need to think a little bit more about it. So this is what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the potential of social media as a marketing tool, and then we're going to demystify two myths that people have in relation to social media, which may be holding back their progress. And then I'm going to share with you the 6-step system that we use in our agency and our academy, and what you see in my book and all my planners, which gets immediate results for organizations. So first of all, I just want to look at some global trends. Believe it or not, 55% of the world's population are social media users. That's like 4.3 billion people all around the planet use social media. And in fact, during the pandemic, 500 million new users joined social media platforms because they wanted to connect with friends and family. So there's more people than ever using social media. Again, the pandemic, Shopify has told us that the pandemic has accelerated the shift towards online shopping by as much as 5 years. So this time last year, people who never would have shopped online, who would have refused to shop online, had no choice. They went online, they shopped, they liked it, they'll repeat it. So even though people are delighted to get back in the shops, that online shopping is not going to stop. And here's another interesting statistic, is that 54% of social media users research products using social media. So as early as August and September, people are screenshotting different products, they're saving those posts, they're making their Christmas purchase lists. So if you have not started pushing out your Christmas collection, start pushing it right today. Let's just look at social media users around the world. So Facebook is still by far the most used social media platform, at 2.8 billion users. In our agency, it is the #1 platform for generating sales still. YouTube follows, followed by WhatsApp, then by Facebook Messenger, then by WeChat, which is in China, then Instagram, then TikTok, then QQ, which is also in China, then Snapchat, then Twitter. But interestingly enough, when you shift around the logos here, Facebook owns Facebook, and it owns WhatsApp, and it owns Instagram, and it owns Messenger. And I just, from a marketer's point of view, I just love the fact that you can spend 50 euros and you can run it seamlessly across those 4 platforms, and you can reach the people who are most likely to do business with you. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about social media marketing, is this. 20 years ago, when I started out in marketing, working for organizations, you know, you were doing your brochures and you were doing your business cards and you did your website. And if you could afford it, you did newspaper advertising. And if you could afford it, you did radio advertising, and you may have done sponsorship and other things like that. But you did not have social media available to you. Now, all of us, I'd say if I did a poll, every single one of us has our phones on our person. People carry around these devices in their hands, in their pockets, in their handbags. They are nearby. When people are waiting to pick their children up from school, they're checking their social media. When they are waiting for an appointment and they're delayed and they're sitting by themselves, they check their social media. When they're commuting and they're not driving, they're checking their social media. So here we have these devices, and we can get into people's hands, handbags, pockets, whatever it is, every single day of the year. And we can do that through social media. So that, I just love the fact that if you're a small business and you're starting out, and even if you're in business a while, you have the potential to use social media to reach people. Now, you will have to pay some money. It's no longer free. And I'll show you this in a few minutes. But I'm so excited at the fact that we have it available to us. And 20 years ago, we didn't. So I've got a poll here. I don't know how this is going to work. I've got a poll here, and I just want you to go to the poll section there. You see where there's the chat. There's a poll tab right beside it. And I just want to see, just for a bit of fun. Can you see the poll, by the way? So let me think. I'm just going to check and see. Can you see? Anyone see the poll there? Might just put it in the chat for me. Yes,
I have it here. Yeah, we're good to go, Louise. The poll is visible. So just click on the beside the chat there, folks.
Right
there's
beside the chat,
polls tab.
There's a poll. So I just wanted to, I just want to see like who's here, and like I will kind of help you then and give you advice based on how you answer. So which best describes your use of social media? Number 1, are you happy to ignore it? Number 2, do you do a lot of work on your content, but it's not necessarily translating into sales? I see this very, very regularly. Number 3, that you just skip all the content and everything, you just go straight to ads, but that's not really working for you either. Or number 4, that actually it's working out quite well for you. So can we answer those polls? I'm going to give you, I'm not sure how this, oh, so fantastic. I can see the votes coming in here. Okay, as I would have thought. So thanks so much to everybody who's responding there. I'm just going to quickly call out the results. So like 9.2% of people here are happy to ignore social media, and that's fine. I've got some advice for you. 70% are saying they do a lot of work on content, but they're not getting the sales. And I've got some really good advice for you guys as well, because to be honest, that's very common. That's what I come across a lot of the time. And then 12% are using Facebook ads and not getting the results. And we have 5% of people who are running effective campaigns and generating results. Fantastic. So based on that, I'm going to give you some advice when I come to talking about my 6-step system. So just bear with me now till I go back to this. Oh. For me. I thought I lost you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at today are 2 myths. Number 1 is that social media is free, and the second one is that you don't need to use paid ads. So organic reach. So here is my formula for organic reach. If you find a post, whether you've published it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn, whatever it is, and you get the reach of that post, so that's how many people saw the post. Usually you'll find that underneath the post. And you divide that by the number of followers you have on that platform, multiply it by 100, you get your percentage organic reach. And here's 2 examples. Here's a post that was published on my Facebook page. And you can see underneath the post, you can see that that post reached 1,102 people. Now I divide that by the number of followers I have on Facebook, which is just over 5,000 followers, multiply it by 100, and you can see that post reached 21%. which was really nice. It was a nice uplifting post where, you know, we were inspiring people. Now, in this post where I'm selling something, you can see the reach is much lower. It's 284 divided by, again, the number of followers, and that gets a reach of 5%. So organic reach around the world is diminishing all the time. It's getting harder to stand out. And the one thing that you will find is that it's sporadic. So sometimes you might be reaching 21% of your audience, and other times it's 5% of your audience. But if you're trying to grow your business, you can't depend on that. And so organic reach is about as dependable as the Irish weather. And so that is why we can't depend on organic reach. Because if we're spending time and effort on our social media producing content, we want to make sure that that content is seen by the people who are most likely to want to buy our products and services. So depending on organic reach is something that maybe you could have done a few years ago, but you can't do it now. But the good news is that you don't have to spend a fortune. You just need to get a return on your investments. And I'm going to give you lots of examples of this in a few minutes. So social media is not free. And the second myth is that you don't need to use paid ads, or that you shouldn't. You should. Here's just 3 examples. So Niamh, who is one of the speakers here today, so Niamh Hogan, so she shared with us the stat that in just 6 months, sales from social media increased her sales by 56%. That makes a huge difference to her business. And actually, Niamh says that she loves that when she wakes up in the morning, she's making money as she sleeps. And that comes from her use of social media. Here we have Lindsay. And she was not a struggling author, but she used Facebook ads to get 2 separate Kindle bestsellers. And so that made huge financial sense for her business. Again, the ads are not a cost, they're an investment. And here's Rita Oates, that in a 3-month period had a return on ad spend of nearly 400%. Okay, so Facebook ads work, and they work for small businesses. So if you answered number 1, that you ignore social media, I'm going to talk to you about my 6-step system now. So this is my 6-step system. If you are answering number 1, chances are you need to start at step 1. And I'm going to go through what each one of these steps mean. But once you start at step 1, you'll find that you'll have direction and purpose. If you answered that you're busy on social media, but you're not getting sales, chances are you've skipped step 1 and step 2, and you're just doing step 3. And that alone will not generate sales for you. If you answered that you are number 3, so you're using Facebook ads and not necessarily getting the results, chances are you've skipped all the way up to step 5. And again, that could be the reason you're not getting results. So let me talk you through the 6 steps. The first step is all about planning. And believe it or not, it's the hardest step, but it's the step which will actually mean that you'll get the best results. Within your planning, you set your goals. So you set out what you want to achieve by when. And believe it or not, that is the thing which will dictate everything you do in your social media. Everything you do in terms of your content and your targeting and your ads should come from what your goals are. Your goals give you your purpose, they give you your direction. The second thing you do in step 1 is that you target your profile audience. And I just don't mean target them loosely. I mean you really go as deep as you can. You find out their motivations, you find out their pain points, because that is going to help you again with your content and again with your ads and your ad copy. And that will make your campaigns more successful. And then the third thing you do is you look at what achieving your goals is worth to your business financially. And from there, you set a budget of what you're prepared to spend on ads to help to achieve your goals. And believe it or not, that is just step 1. So if you have been ignoring social media and you do this step, I guarantee not only will you use social media more effectively, but you'll spend less time getting better results. Step 2 is all about optimizing your social media channels and your website. So once you have identified your core messages, it's about communicating those consistently across all your social media platforms and across your website. So that when somebody sees you on Facebook, and then they see you on Instagram, and then they see you on TikTok, and then they maybe see you on LinkedIn, that you always look the same and your core messages are always the same. If you don't do this step, the analogy I like to make is that if, let's say, you're just busy producing content, but you haven't done the optimization, the analogy is it's like a shopkeeper standing at the door of a shop, and he's getting people's attention and telling them to come into his shop or her shop. And they come into her shop and the shelves are empty. They don't know what they can buy from this shopkeeper, so they just leave again. So if you're getting people's attention through your social media content, but they're not too sure how to do business with you, they're not going to look too hard. They're just going to go away. And sometimes that's what can happen. That's step 2. Step 3 then is all about your social media content. And your social media content should not be something you do in the evening time when you're watching the TV. It should be something that's planned. It should be something that's strategic with purpose and direction. It should link back to the goals that you set in step 1. So why we plan content strategically? Because people rarely take action having seen one post. So if you put a post up today saying, here's my Christmas collection, here's how you buy them, that's one post. Now you need to think of what you're going to do next week and the week after and the week after and the week after to continue to get that message out there. People need to hear from us between 9 and 18 times in general before they do business with us. And the higher the ticket value, the more that applies. If you're selling something for 20 or 30 euros, you can pretty much sell to a cold audience. If you're selling something for 3 or 4 or 5,000 euros, you need to warm that audience up and build their trust. So people do business with people that they know and trust. So sometimes in social media, we're connecting. So here's an example of Charlene Flanagan Makeup, and this is she does this so well. And this is just a story that I've shared from her Instagram stories. It's a behind the scenes. They're having a photo shoot and somebody is taking a video of them having the photo shoot. Sometimes we're connecting. Social media is all about being social. So sometimes, and actually we sell more when we don't sell. And the content and where we're connecting and building brand awareness is the content which will perform the best. That's why the photograph earlier on of the girl jumping got 21%, and the photo of somebody selling got 5%. So sometimes we're connecting, sometimes we're building authority, sometimes we show people the knowledge we have. So if we're selling a service, if we're a consultant or a coach or a life coach or a business coach or a social media consultant, we have to show people what we know so that they realize that we can help them out. So, and we can do this through our social media content. Sometimes we're selling. So sometimes we don't want to just give the advice all the time. Sometimes we do have to say, yes, actually, I'm open for business and this is how you do business with me. And then sometimes we're impressing. And so we take our advocate content and we put that content front and central, and we use that to warm up cold prospects. Step 4 then is all about taking the content or taking your ads and targeting it at the most appropriate audience. So on Facebook and Instagram, and actually TikTok and LinkedIn are quite similar as well, you can create audiences based on their demographics. So if I wanted to, let's say that the National Women's Enterprise Day was having an event in Cork and 1,000 people went to it. On Facebook, I could target people recently in that location. I could target all those people and I know that they'd all be my target customer. You can target people based on where they're living or where they're traveling or where they've recently been. You can target them based on their age, on their gender, or their interests. And you can do all of that really, really effectively on Facebook and Instagram and the other social media platforms. On Facebook, the retargeting that you have is really, really powerful. And it's usually the targeting that lots of people don't know about and don't use. You can create an audience of people who visited your website. So if I visit your website and I go back to social media, you don't get my name, but you can follow me around with an ad because I've been on your website. So sometimes if you see a nice dress and the dress follows you around, it's not that it was meant to be, it's that you've probably looked at that dress on that website and it's the retargeting that's kicking in. You can also target people who've watched your video content on Facebook and Instagram. So if you create really good video content which entertains people or educates them, and people watch that video content, well, then you can send them another ad asking them if they want to do business with you. So that's a really, really powerful audience. You can upload your email list and you can follow them around on social media as well, as long as it's GDPR compliant. And you can create an audience of anyone who's ever interacted with your Facebook page or your Instagram profile or any ads that you have previously run. And these audiences are our warm retargeting audiences. And again, really, really important when you're selling higher ticket events. The 5th step then is all about running Facebook ads. Now, there are so many variables when it comes to the performance of ads. There's 13 different types of ads you can reuse. There's like lots of different placements. And the analogy I like to use is that, if you've never run an ad before, that's okay. It's okay not to know how to do it. The analogy I use is my mum bakes amazing brown bread, and she's been doing it for years and years and years, and she knows the ingredients to put together, and she knows when it feels right, and she knows the temperature for the oven, and she puts it in the oven and it cooks, and she knows when it cooks, and she takes it out, and she knows that because she's done it for years and years and years. And so similarly, I know how to run ads because I've been doing them for years and years. And so when you're starting out, you're not going to know. I just wanted to say to people, that's okay, because you can learn how to do it, and it is possible to learn. And they, as I showed earlier on, they are so powerful. And by the way, when I make brown bread, you know, you want to watch your teeth because it's like rock. So just variables in ad performance. And the sixth step, which is so important, is to review performance. So I just have an example here. And again, I'm going to go to the chat now, and I'm going to look for your feedback on this. So when we are running ads, when we are running campaigns on social media, we have to always tune into what the time we put in, the money we spent, and was this, you know, was it worth doing again? And was it worthwhile for our business? So I just have one example because I know we're under pressure for time today. So a life coach runs an ad, which results in 20 leads. And the ad costs 200 euros. So every lead costs 10 euros. Do you think this is a good result? Yeah, so just use the chat there. Yes, Kim says. Thanks, Kim. You're the first to respond. It worked. Yes, if it worked into the margin. Very good. Depends. Correct. Yeah, depends. Correct. Yeah, you're all right. You're all, actually, there's more chats here and it's just moving too fast for me to read. Depends. You're right. It does depend. So this is, in fact, is only one half of the equation. So, and actually the reason I give you this is that I actually had one of my clients in my academy, and I knew she had run an ad, and I said, how did that go for you? And she goes, I got 20 leads. This actually happened during life. She goes, I got 20 leads. I said, that's fantastic. How much did it cost you? 200 euros. And she said, do you think it's that good? And I was like, sure, what did you do with the leads? And she goes, well, I didn't do anything. I says, you better follow up with those really quickly, because they'll go cold really quickly. So she followed up on all of them, and out of the 20 of them, 5 signed up, right? Don't mind the examples, they're a bit mixed up here. 5 signed up to one of her packages, which cost, let's say, 500 euros. So the 200 euros ad spent resulted in a return in investment of 2,500 euros. So the 200 euro ad spend, along with her time to follow up and all of that, but she still got 2,500 euros in. So that was a good investment, because she got a return. So if you can spend 200 euros, get 20 leads, get 5 sales at the end of it, and make 2,500 euros, it makes it really easy to spend another 200 euros in the future, because you know you're going to make money. And that is, I suppose, all what we need to do in terms of harnessing the power of social media, is that we need to understand that, yes, we need to follow a system. Let me just remind ourselves what that system is. We need to do the planning. We need to optimize. We need to plan our content around achieving our goals. We need to target the most appropriate people who are likely to take, to buy our products and services. We do need to run some advertising, because we cannot depend on organic reach anymore. We still need to work really hard at our content, but we just augment that content through ads. And then at the end, we review performance. If you're a service, you're going to be reviewing things like leads. If you're selling a product, you're going to have what's called a Facebook pixel on your website. And so if you run an ad and you spend 200 euros, you'll see exactly how much business was generated and the value of that business through the Facebook pixel, through your Facebook ads. So I'm just going to leave you with the key takeaways. So the key takeaways today are this: social media is a powerful tool which businesses can use to harness business growth, and that in order to get results, you must plan, optimize, you must publish content. Don't just show up sporadically, show up consistently. You must amplify your content with paid advertising. You must review performance, and you use this then to inform future campaigns. So that is it. I think I am done. So Fiona, I'd love to see if there's any questions from the audience.
Oh, just one or two. Wow, Louise, I suppose, look, it's one of those things, we could be here for the day, and I think we'd still be talking about it. It's just, even in that condensed snapshot, I think what comes across is the power of social media. Like you said, it's just, we can get into our customers, their pockets, their handbags there, and it's just to really harness that. And obviously that ties into exactly what we're talking about this afternoon. We have over 200 female entrepreneurs on this session. It's fantastic. The chat is flying. I absolutely just love the interaction going on there. A couple of questions, so we'll just fly through most of them. I suppose some of them you've touched on within your presentation. So if you'd like to elaborate, one of them was in relation to promoting your business on LinkedIn. You know, if your main market is corporate companies. I know you did mention there, you referenced about how you can target by age, gender, interest, where they're based. And another question complementary to that then is about if your target is corporate companies, is LinkedIn the best way to do it, or can you still do that on Facebook?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is really good for corporate. LinkedIn is really good if you're B2B. What I would say to you is, again, it's worth looking at upgrading, let's say, to the Sales Navigator if you're going to be, you know, if you're going to be going through and making connection requests and sending people messages. I would also say you can use LinkedIn ads. They tend to be about 10 times more expensive than Facebook ads. So if your daily budget on Facebook and Instagram is 10 euros a day on LinkedIn, you can multiply it, it's about 100 a day. So it is a bit more expensive. I would say, again, it's about having that plan. So Fiona, rather than just going to LinkedIn and contacting someone and let's say asking them for a connection request and then trying to do business with them, you might want to think of more of the funnel that you're going to create to get their attention. So if you want to do business with this corporate, is there a free download, or is there a webinar you can invite them to? Is there an event you can invite them to? How can you get their attention? And that goes back down to, like, so the 6 steps still apply. Again, that goes down to profiling them. What are their pain points? How can you help them? How can you get their attention? But you'll probably do it in a slightly different way on LinkedIn. You'll invite them to an event. You may use like your organic posting, your DMs, your upgraded Sales Navigator to reach them. You may also run ads. This absolutely, I've run ads myself, LinkedIn, really successfully. But that's how you do it. Can you reach corporates on Facebook and Instagram? You surely can, because I'm B2B, so I'm not dealing with consumers, I'm dealing with businesses, and lots of my clients would be as well. And it's still, because people are, like, the people who you're trying to reach are still hanging out there.
Might just be that a little bit busier, which is what one of the comments was. Yeah, it would maybe get a bit diluted.
Well, it's down to the content that you create, how relevant it is to that audience, and you're targeting to make sure that you reach them.
Brilliant. Thank you for that advice. I suppose there was another question, and again, you did touch on it with regard to a recommended daily budget for a small business when it comes to the advertising. Again, it's probably all interconnected to trying it, reviewing, and if you're getting a return from it and working it that way. Would you have any other advice there?
I would, yeah. I would say a very common mistake that I see lots of businesses make is that they end up running an ad for €2 a day for 10 days. So they spend or even €2 a day for 5 days. So they're spending €10 over 5 days. Don't do that. Okay. If you want to run an ad, put a minimum of, even if 8, 10 euros a day, run it for 2 or 3 days, because you need to have some money so that the algorithm can go out and do its work and that you can interpret the results. If you're not spending enough money, you're not going to be able to get any results or be able to interpret them. So even if you spend 10 euros a day at a very minimum and run it for 4 or 5 days, you should see some impact, or you'll see what the results are going to be, and you can interpret them and make an informed decision. If you have 10 euro, if you have 50 euros to spend it over a shorter period of time rather than over a longer period of time. If people start seeing the same ad for 2 or 3 weeks, they just ignore it. So what you're better off to do is have one campaign which runs for maybe a week or so and then change it up. Don't have the same, if you just think of yourself when you see an ad popping up in your newsfeed, if it's the same ad and you haven't responded to it the first, few days, you're not going to respond to it a week or two later.
Yeah, and look, I mean, as users, we know that as well. So it's just flipping it, isn't it? And putting ourselves into maybe the shoes of our clients and who we want to target. Exactly. That's really practical advice though, Louise. So that's absolutely fantastic. Another question with regard to the practicalities. And again, look, it's a difficult one, I would imagine, to answer, but with regard to optimum times of the day that you would be posting across different networks, are we all sitting down in the evening? Is that the time? Have you any comment on that?
Yeah, so again, like a lot of it will depend on the individual business, Fiona, and a lot of it will depend on what you're selling. So, but you're right, you know, ultimately you want your audience to be on and you want them to have time to consume what you're putting in front of them. So like, if you're selling business services, you know, you probably don't want to push that out on a Friday night or on Saturday because nobody wants to hear from you. If you're selling fashion or even, you know, you're selling property, anything like that, that works really well on a Friday evening. Saturday is a funny day for all, because I think people are busy on a Saturday unless it's a lockdown. But again, the best thing to do is to tune into your insights. So look at when you have been posting, look at the results that you've got and learn from it. And you will know yourself. Like I know myself, I will not run an ad on a certain day at a certain time because it just won't work for me. And that's just through doing it over time and tuning in. So whatever you do, tune into the results. That is absolutely the key.
And then that would tie into how much time then you perhaps start devoting to your social media and, you know, posting on your channels. And I suppose, look, it's always going to be an issue with small businesses because people are wearing so many hats, and do they have the time to carve out that time to actually do the posting? And I suppose one of the questions did relate to, is there a recommended kind of daily time? Again, it's very hard to quantify, but I suppose if you start seeing the results, then the knock-on effect is that you'll probably devote a little bit more time and it'll be cyclical in that nature. Is that right?
So the best advice that I can give to everyone here today is that when you don't have a plan and you're rocking up of a Friday evening because you forgot to post and you're doing something, or you're just doing it for the sake of it, you're going to waste your time and you're going to spend more time producing the same number of posts. If you're sitting down and you have allocated an hour or two, whatever it is, at your desk, and you're going to schedule 3 posts for that week, and you sit down and you sit down with a creator studio. You can schedule for Facebook and Instagram, and you will do that in less time, and you will produce better content, and the content should relate back, remember, to your goals. So here's the thing as well about small businesses. You know, you have to put time and effort into marketing your business. And the work and effort that you put in now, it may not pay back immediately, but it will pay back in the future. So the leads that you're getting through the door, or the sales that you're getting through the door today, are probably as a result of the efforts that you put in 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago. And so the work that you put in now will pay dividends in the future. If you're putting time and effort into your social media and you can see you're only reaching 30, 40, 50 people because your audience is small, spend some money on that and pay some money to get it in front of people who are likely to want to do business with you. But if all you're doing is putting up sales posts, that will not have an impact. Think back to the pain points of your customer, how you can help them, how you can get their attention and get that in front of them. And if you're selling products and you're getting ready for sales for Christmas, just keep pushing out products right now because people are looking for products to buy. Do a themed post every week. Presents for your granny, presents for the teacher, presents for your mother, presents for the man in your life, presents for under 50 euros, gifts for over 50 euros, whatever it is. Sit down and make your plan. Sit down and make your plan this afternoon and you will get better results, I guarantee it.
Well, folks, that's definitely the main nugget I think to take away from this is it's to have a strategic approach and a planned approach. And Louise, everything you're saying, I suppose I'm finding it very easy to relate to it, and it keeps going back to your 6-step process as well. So it's so practical in that regard. And there are a few more questions coming in with regard to how you would schedule posts out, and I suppose posts, are they effective, are they not? But it's all coming back to that 6 steps. You mentioned that as somebody said, it was like the Late Late Toy Show, that there was going to be one for everyone in the audience. And we just need to make sure that people are really, really clear with regard to where they can find your book, and also where they can find that social media planner that you mentioned that would be free in the resource section. So can you just ensure that everybody has that knowledge straight away so that we're not missing anything?
So if you're looking to buy my book, just go into Amazon and search for it. Just search for Louise McDonald Facebook Marketing, you'll find it. The planner actually is still for sale on Amazon, but like it's near the end of the year. Hang on, the new one will be available in about 2 or 3 weeks. That one is free, but the free version, you're just getting the front half of it. because you don't have, obviously, there's no point in having a week to view planner at this point of the year. But you'll still have all the prompts to give you some inspiration for your social media content. So the prompts are absolutely wonderful. For example, the 5th of December is International Volunteer Day. And so the beauty about the planner and the way to use the planner is look at it in advance. And then think of what can you do? Can you even do a survey? What can you do? Can you put it out on and launch it on the day that, that whatever day it is, International Day or whatever, you'll get more attention for it. So so that planner is available in the resources section. I sent it on yesterday, so it's in the resources section. I can't tell you exactly where, of
the National Women's Enterprise Day site, is it?
Yes, yeah.
Perfect. So that would be localenterprise.ie/NWED. Just for anybody who is looking there, just Google National Women's Enterprise Day, you'll be brought to it anyway. I'm disappointed to have to bring this to a close. That seems to have just flown, that whole session. I want to take this opportunity, Louise, to thank you. That was just so impactful. And as I said, I just love the practicality of it as well, that people can really go away and, as you said, sit down this afternoon and start. Thank you to everybody who's been here with us this afternoon. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. I think that from the chat that's going on there in the background and still continuing, feedback is just wonderful. That's fantastic reflection on you, Louise. So thank you so much. There's going to be